there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. It is fantastic to have you with us here again today for another one of our episodes on the Wheel of Time.
Mm-hmm.
It's also very nice to have you with me today, Zach. I've done a number of episodes, both long and short, without you, but I still say it's the father and son show. Today there is a son. Yes.
Occasionally there's not. I still exist when you do other episodes.
You
I just
always
may or may not be present.
But it's good to see you. How you doing today?
I'm all right. Gearing up, being excited for some upcoming things, including Rolly is about to turn 2.
Ooh.
It's his first birthday with us, and so that's going to be a fun thing. And Rach has a birthday coming up too, as well as some friends, and it's just kind of a good time with that going on. But what about you? How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing good. It's a nice, pleasant Saturday. It's a time of year where work starts to slow down for me finally. So, taking a little bit of a breath. Maybe not have to travel quite as much for a little bit. And that's nice. And the weather has gotten gorgeous. So we're enjoying being out in the backyard. Gonna do a fire in the fire pit tonight and just kind of relax. Nice. Yeah. Did you shave? You look very...
I did shave.
You look very clean shaven, very sharp today.
Also, I think since the last time I saw you, I think I got a haircut.
Look at that. The whole thing. Very nice.
It was like a week ago, but it was since the last time I saw you.
Well, I have noticed. You're looking dapper, my son.
Well, thank you.
Nothing coming back my way.
You didn't shave. You still got hair.
I do have hair.
And when you do shave, it looks weird. Don't do it.
You mentioned birthdays. I do have to start kind of figuring out something for your mother because that's coming up as well.
Start figuring something. Have you not figured something out yet?
At our ages, we don't really need much anymore. We don't want much anymore. I already have reservations to take her out to a nice restaurant. That's been locked in, and she knows it. But I said, so is there something you'd like for your birthday? And she has been like,
I admittedly already gave Rach part of her birthday present early. But the other part has been sitting on my desk right here for a little while, and she's not allowed to look at whatever it is. I just said don't snoop.
Okay, there you go. And you trust she won't snoop.
If she does,
she's only ruining it for herself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What you drinking today?
I'm just drinking soda right now. We're going out a little bit later, gonna go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, have some boozy milkshakes then, so I'm waiting until later.
All right.
What about yourself? Did you make a wattail?
Nope, just wine today, but I cracked open I don't know, can I crack open a bottle of wine? That's not good, really, actually. I don't think I should.
I mean, there are plenty of bottles of wine that you could crack open, but I think yours was corked.
There was a cork. I uncorked a nice bottle of Maryhill Chardonnay. This is Proprietor's Reserve Chardonnay, so top level, good stuff. Not a cheap bottle of wine, and it tastes good.
I can tell it's a green wine because it's getting your green screen. You disappear behind it.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny is my button today is kind of catching the green screen
just
too.
A little bit.
I don't know why. It's just a plain silverish button. Anyways, enough of that silliness. A few notes before we jump in. We've been picking up more YouTube subscribers.
Always exciting.
Yes, just since our last Wheel of Time episode, we've got 6 more subscribers. And while, for some YouTubers out there, they get dozens, maybe hundreds of new subscribers over a few days, a week period. For us, 6, that's a big number over just a couple of weeks.
We're small. We celebrate each and every one.
You are special to us, people. Thank you for being here. We hope to continue to entertain. Speaking of entertaining, be sure to look at all of the content we have on our YouTube channel. We hope you'll like this episode and literally hit the like button. But look at the other things that are out there. I've dropped 2 episodes just over the last 2 days that are short things, both of them on the same book, because I finished Buzzard's Bowl.
Which is right over in the corner. I can't point.
Yeah, way up in the top corner now of the graphic. It doesn't officially release until June 1st. This was an early version I was able to get my hands on thanks to the author, John Palladino. There's a whole episode interviewing him here on our channel. The first book was great. The second book was greater.
Nice.
So a book blast, tiny 5-minute episode you can check out if you don't want spoilers. Just a reaction, what I thought of it, and a 10-minute full review dropped this morning. That's got spoilers. I don't spoil everything, but I go much deeper into what
Wild
it's
that
about.
you spoil.
I give warning. I give full warning. So Buzzard's Bowl, fantastic. But that means I finished Buzzard's Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I also finished, that was on Kindle. I finished a book in hardcover and a book on audio all in the same 24-hour period.
Nice.
Which means for the first time that I can remember, I started 3 brand new books all at the same time. So I am now reading Night Angel Nemesis. Brent Weeks is off to a fantastic start. Dust, which is book 3 of the Silo trilogy that you pointed out to me the last time we were together.
Mm-hmm.
And so book 3, I'm just blowing through them. They're great. And finally, Brandon Sanderson's The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which has been sitting, waiting its turn.
The non-Cosmere related secret project.
Right. And, there have been people out there kind of so-so in their thoughts on this book. It's quirky. It's different. I'm enjoying it. Is it a classic of all time so far? Well, no. It's just a fun book.
In premise,
simple, fun fantasy book.
Something that wouldn't be out of place with Douglas Adams.
Yeah, no, you're channeling something there. That's not bad. So I so far have positive feels. I'm about 15% in. How about you now? What are you reading?
I really haven't read a whole lot. I'm still in the first 50 pages of Blood Rights. I have not read much.
Wow. Yeah, you haven't touched that.
It's been rough to physically read. I did, however, finish The Republic of Thieves, the 3rd book in the Gentleman Bastard sequence. Okay. I have gone back to The Expanse, starting Cibola Burn.
Nice.
And then I ordered, it has not come yet, but I saw Barnes & Noble had this thing where for just a little bit more, I could order Night Angel Nemesis that was signed, and I said, why not?
Ooh.
So it'll be a nice,
book.
Pretty hardcover copy, signed, and that'll be showing up in the next day or so.
Okay,
I'm excited for that.
So I was sitting last night reading Night Angel Nemesis, sitting right next to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, heavy hardcover book.
Oh, yeah.
As I'm enjoying reading the book, I'm also at one point looking at your mom and going, this is why I like Kindle. This thing's heavy.
I like
just
big books.
A chunk of book to have
but
the
I
whole.
Will say,
you like big books and you do not lie.
When the package said it was going to be 2.25 pounds, I was like, whew.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll enjoy it, definitely. And maybe we'll have to talk about that book or the series as a whole. This is really book 1 of a new series. It's not really the 4th Night Angel, though it is carrying on.
Continuation of sorts.
But it clearly says right on the cover, it's book 1 of a new trilogy. So, okay. Or more. Okay.
It doesn't say it's a trilogy. It just says it's a new series. I think it's actually intended to be 4 or 5.
I thought it said.
It's called the Kyler Chronicles, not a trilogy.
Book 1 of the Kyler Chronicles. Something gave me the impression it was another trilogy, but I could be wrong. Okay, I've been wrong once or twice before. Rumor has it.
Yeah, we put it on the calendar because it's more fun to watch them show up every day.
No, you put it on the calendar because it's so rare. Keep it straight, dude. Keep it straight.
It's just a good bit.
All right, let's move on into our content today. The next 3 chapters of The Fires of Heaven, 36, 37, and 38. They're all really wrapped around one event.
Kind of, yeah.
Until right at the very end of chapter 38. So let's get through it. Chapter 36 is called A New Name. Remind us what happened right at the end of chapter 35.
Right at the end, Nynaeve was in Dream World, Teleran Riyadh. Birgitte was there, and so was Mogideon. And it was a whole little, hi, bye, this isn't good. Mogideon got shot by Birgitte, which is great. However, Mogideon also said, bye,
Zap.
and Birgitte disappeared, only to show up in reality.
Back to life.
And we
Back
don't know what to
to
do with that
reality.
exactly. Um, save for that we have fixed the problem of her dying, which is to say, Elaine did the thing she's not supposed to and bonded Birgitte as a warder.
There we go. That's it. So here we are picking up. It's still that same night where this happened. Brigitte is laying there on Elaine's cot, unconscious, sleeping, seems to be stable and healthy. Elaine is sitting vigil next to her, just kind of waiting to see when will she wake up. Nynaeve had fled the wagon, all distressed over what has happened. And as the chapter opens, Nynaeve is walking back in. Now it's obvious to Elaine. Nynaeve's been crying. She's all red rimmed around the eyes. She's kind of a mess, but she's like, I can't stay away anymore. I'll come and spend time with her now. Take a break, Elaine. Okay. So Elaine walks out of the wagon. This is an Elaine POV section. And right outside the wagon, there's Tom and Julin, also still awake, waiting to see what's going to happen from this naked woman that showed up out of nowhere that we put into the wagon and then got chased out. They are postulating what this all could be. And this is what Elaine overhears as she walks out. Tom is clearly speculating, that sure looked like Birgitte. You know, Birgitte Silverbow, the hero of the horn, really looked like her.
Which notably is just Tom knowing his stories and figuring things out, because he was not in Falma. He would not have seen her.
But he also is commenting, you know, and it's not just that she looks like the Birgitte of the stories I tell. There's other stories with a woman just like her with different names, but always doing kind of the same heroic thing. And this woman appeared magically out of nowhere. And then you've got Julin sitting across the fire from him holding a silver arrow, which also appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like all of this is questionable, but then we go silver bow, silver arrow. Do you think we're stupid?
So Elaine walks out, and the guys are like, whoop, you know, both looking at Elaine like, so what can you tell us?
And that's the question. What can she tell them? Because she could tell them lots of things, but she still feels like she can't say much of anything in the same way that she couldn't tell Egwene.
Remind us why? What's the deal?
Promise.
Pinky promise. Pinky promise.
And, you know, you don't break pinky promises unless you're prepared to die. Elaine likes to live.
So she has sworn not to reveal Birgitte's secret. She tells the guys, yeah, she's a friend. Okay, I can tell you that. We know who she is. She's not an Aes Sedai. She's a friend who's been helping Nynaeve and I.
Oh, yeah? What's her name?
Yeah, the guys are like, that's the best you can do, really? You know, they're giving her this look. And she feels really bad about that. That's going to kind of weigh on her very quickly here. But the other thing, before, you know, she says anything more, she gets some information. She's like, well, what did Nynaeve say about all this? Tom's like, well, she seemed kind of upset, so we didn't really want to press her. Julin's like, upset? She literally cried all over us, apologized for every last thing she's ever done wrong, called herself a coward and a fool, and that she ought to be beaten. It's wrong. This is just wrong. They do not feel comfortable with Nynaeve being such a mess.
It's like, someone took Nynaeve and either broke her or replaced her, because that's not Nynaeve.
Yeah. So with Elaine seeing how they're obviously, truly, deeply concerned for Nynaeve, even to the fact that they seem worried she might go hurt herself. You know, I deserve to be whipped, you know. she's feeling compassion for these guys. She's feeling like, man, maybe I should talk to them a little more. Tom even says, I think, Elaine, you've got to do something for Nynaeve because she's in a state that, if she was a guy, I'd know how to take care of her. I'd I'd take him out drinking. I'd find him a. Okay,
So
let's
what you're
change that
saying
topic.
is
He gets.
booze and boobs.
Yeah, pretty much. But he's like, I can't help Nynaeve. This is woman stuff. Okay, you're gonna need to snap her out of this because this is not cool. Elaine agrees to try. But then she's like, all right, it's time I fill you guys in on a little more information you ought to know. So she can't tell them about Birgitte, but she basically tells them about everything else at this point. That, they've been going to Teleron Riyadh every night. Uh, they've been engaged with the fact that there are Forsaken out there in Teleron Riyadh, and even one of them, Mogedion, is actively hunting them. And at the same time, they're hunting Mogedion. Okay, there's some real dangers going on right now that you've been fantastic, but you need to know about them. And if you're not comfortable with this stuff, with knowing how high the stakes are, we will understand if you decide it's time to move on. No shame.
Yeah, Elaine, they're not dumb.
Oh, but she thinks they are. Women are sure all men are dumb.
And to be fair, usually that's correct. However, these two are generally good about gaining information. They had a pretty good idea about most of it, not necessarily the details, but they're not surprised and they're just kind of like, okay.
They're certainly not going,
okay.
Oh my goodness, you're right. We are out of here. No, none of that happens. They both have their own ways of stating that, we're not going anywhere. Tom comments like, there are still more things I need to teach you, young lady. I'm not parting ways. And
I imagine internally they are a little bit like, damn it. I was hoping that the Forsaken weren't like actively against us because that's kind of rough. But I guess that's what we get.
Julian was kind of funny. He first tries to blame Rand for why he's not going to leave. He's like, I can't leave you. I made a promise to the Dragon Reborn, and if I was to break that, he'd come for me. She's like, you are not pinning it on him. If you're staying, it's because you want to stay. And he's like, all right. No. I've never abandoned a woman before. I'm not about to do that now. And we do know that. Julian's DNA. He's there to help the women. He's done it before. That's his nature. So they agree to stay. And then Elaine twists us right back around. All right. Good stuff. But that still means then you're agreeing to obey. Okay. We're the boss. You're still going to take our orders. You'll still follow. I'm in the same conditions that applied before. None of that's changed. If you're agreeing to stay, you're still following our lead. Like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, all right. So get some sleep now. You need to get sleep. And she heads back into the wagon, internally shaking her head because as soon as she walks away, they look at each other. Okay, who wants first watch? Okay, that wasn't the deal. She told them to get to
sleep.
They're still going to do things their own way.
But not the way.
Yeah. I like that. So, re-entering the wagon, Elaine has some words with Nynaeve, trying to kind of probe how she's feeling, and this is her initial attempts to snap Nynaeve out of her grief, her guilt, or whatever. The only thing she accomplishes here is talking Nynaeve into getting cleaned up and getting some sleep, which she desperately needs. Nynaeve doesn't want to go to sleep, but as soon as she's in bed, she's out and snoring lightly pretty quickly. I'm sure Nynaeve denies that she snores.
She doesn't.
She doesn't snore, or she doesn't deny it?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't snore. She growls. She's just angry all the time, trying to sleep channel.
So yeah, she can channel when she's sleeping. Then all right. Well, with her asleep and Birgitte still out, Elaine sits back against the wall of the wagon right beside Birgitte and resumes her vigil, but within moments she's drifted off to sleep as well.
She's like, I will keep watch.
There's an odd little dream then where Elaine and many other women are all surrounding Rand.
I'm sure
Women
that
she
doesn't
knows.
have any sort of meaningful context.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I
What?
was just being snarky and snide. Keep going.
Okay. She's seeing all these women, some of them that are friends of hers, some of them like Avienda, Egwene, Nynaeve, they're all there. Some she's not so friendly with, like Bearlane, all these women surrounding him. And it's a dream. She realizes she's not in Teleron Riyadh, though. This is just a dream. And then it's interrupted as Birgitte wakes her up. Birgitte is leaning over the bed, kind of, I'm not in Teleron Riyadh. What's going on? A little loopy, but Elaine's excited to see her awake. And then it all kind of hits Birgitte what happened. She remembers what was done to her, the bit with Moghedien, and that she's been basically tossed out of Teleron Riyadh. This isn't right. And she's upset. Not upset for herself so much. She's upset that she's been parted from Geidel Kane. That's what has her so upset. Remind us what that's about, Zach. What's the significance of Birgitte and Geidel?
They, time and time again, are heroes in their own right, but always find their way to each other as partners, as more than that, as
Lover.
The other half to each other.
Yes,
in
phrase.
This wheel that continues to turn age to age and moment to moment, and they just keep getting spat out, but always together.
Right. Now she had already sensed that he had been spun out by the wheel just a short time ago. He was no longer around Teleron Riyadh, which means her time would have been coming soon as well. But now that's not going to happen.
Got a little interrupted. Here.
So she's upset about this. Geidel is not going to find her. It's not going to be the regular pattern. And Elaine's like, no, it's okay, Birgitte. I'm sure you two will still find each other. You will come together. You're meant to be. Birgitte's like, no, you're not getting it. Okay, Moghedien has torn me away from Geidel so that when he needs me most, it always happens. Something comes along and he needs me. I'm his other half. I won't be there. That's going to be terrible for him. Who knows how much will go wrong because I'm not there to be the Birgitte Geidel show, just like it always is. That's why she's upset, and she dissolves into tears. Just, that's too much. She's overwhelmed. So she has a serious all-on cry session. When that wraps up, got it out of her system, Birgitte asks about Nynaeve, who's over there gently snoring. You know, how badly was she hurt? And Elaine shares, physically, not really. I mean, she's okay. It's more her spirit that was harmed. She came out and has been very distraught, blaming herself for what happened to you, which Birgitte is not happy about. She's like, that's nonsense. I make my own choices. Then Birgitte recognizes, wait a second, I can feel you. I mean, not touching. I can sense you internally. What's going on? And Elaine explains. Water bond. Yeah. And mentioning, explaining, I made you my water because you were fading away and it was the only thing I could think of to save your life. Birgitte comments, I've actually heard of a female warder before. But long, long ago. No, I have a theory about that. The wheel of time, man. Things keep coming back again and again. It was probably Birgitte before.
Probably.
In a different age. So long ago.
It's also very, very possible that it wasn't.
But I do like that theory. First-time readers, there's nothing confirmed about that. We're just speculating. But she does remember, Birgitte does remember a specific story of an Aes Sedai who well, that's the wrong term. An accepted who
Mm.
bonded a warder, because this comes out as Elaine is saying, I did bond you. You are my warder now, but I gotta come clean. I'm not actually a full Aes Sedai yet. I shouldn't have done this. I'm only accepted. And Birgitte's like, oh. And that's when she tells her the story of a particular accepted back during the Trolloc Wars that was literally on the cusp of testing for Aes Sedai. Like the next day, she was scheduled for her test.
Yeah.
And bonded the warder that she wanted because there was another accepted who was about to test that day that she sensed had her eye on that guy. And so she bonded him as an accepted to make sure the other one couldn't get him. But then that got discovered. When that was discovered, that's a taboo. That's a no-no. You do not bond a warder until you're Aes Sedai. So they forced her to pass that warder's bond on to another Aes Sedai. And then she was sent to the kitchens for the next 3 years before she could take her Aes Sedai test. And then she passed. She was raised to Aes Sedai. And the Amyrlin then said, here, this guy is your warder. Bond him. An ugly, stubborn, very difficult to deal with warder, so that moving forward, nobody was really sure who was actually in charge in that relationship. Was it the Aes Sedai or was it the warder? It was a challenging thing.
On the other hand, the entire situation always has bothered me a little bit, because I'm sitting here going, is this after they'd realized they should really be bonding with consent? Because they really just treated that one first warder as like property of, no, I want the puppy first.
Yeah, that's unclear. Back at the time of the Trolloc Wars,
person and yes they may
they may not have needed consent. Although I, in reading the story, had the impression this wasn't a consent issue, that he was willing.
And it's a weird thing where if he was willing to bond the one who could have bonded the next day, then he could have said no to the one day and it would have been fine. So it just was like poor decision making.
That is a good point. That is a very good point.
Unless it wasn't necessary for the warder to consent, and it was only the Aes Sedai's choice.
There's one last interesting thing there, and that's when Birgitte has said the names of this accepted and the warder she ends up with when she's finally Aes Sedai. That story is known. Those names are known, but it's a famous love story. Mm-hmm. And in the love story that's come down to this time, there's no information on the woman being an Aes Sedai. It's just these two star-crossed lovers and how they had to work, especially the woman, to prove her love and to be worthy of the man. And interesting. She's like, stories change. Okay. But what Birgitte has shared does reinforce the importance of it not getting out that Elaine bonded her. Birgitte, she appreciates the action, the risk Elaine took. You have saved my life with this action, even though it's not a safe action for you to have taken. So we will protect each other's secrets. Okay, you don't reveal who I am. I don't share that I'm your warder, and I've got your back. I will be your warder. And not only your warder, I will be your friend. Thank you for saving me. So this is all warm fuzzy. Mm-hmm. Elaine does have a moment of apprehension when when Birgitte says part of this in a way that sounds like she might be threatening Elaine. And Birgitte has to kind of backpedal a touch and go, no. That was humor. Clearly you don't get my humor yet. Guido used to say, yeah, my humor, it's a little rough. Not everybody gets it. And Elaine's like, yeah, can you work on that, please? A little bit.
I think you should work on better understanding her and being more appreciative of other people's senses of humors.
So that's one of the nuggets that we get out of this conversation. Brigitte's personality is very different from Elaine's. And I kind of like Birgitte here, the feeling we're getting for her perspective. That's something, first time readers, you're going to keep enjoying Birgitte. She's a great addition to what we're seeing here. But the other thing we get, the other nugget, is Elaine in her mind. It's her POV going, well, I guess I have to be Green Aja now.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because they're the only Aja that publicly supports poly bonding.
That is not the phrase I've ever heard used before. Here you go, Watt
It's
fans.
accurate.
Zach has coined a new phrase, polybonding.
Well, because in this case, it's not a polyamorous relationship that she's looking to have with Birgitte and Rand. She doesn't look for a romantic one or anything in that vein with Birgitte, but she sure as heck wants it with Rand and would love the bond too.
Yep. So that's been her goal
bonding.
for quite some time, that she was going to bond Rand. The fact that she's bonded Birgitte is not about the get in the way. She is all good with Polly.
And notably, we have mentioned in the past that while Greens are most commonly going to marry their warders, other Ajas, like they can, it's not against the laws. There's nothing against having a romantic relationship with your warder. The Greens, however, are the only ones that will have multiple warders and sometimes multiple romantic entanglements within that as well. So
there you go. Elaine finally now gets some real sleep. Birgitte's like, you need rest too, so go ahead. And Elaine at first is like, yeah, but you're going to need some clothes. And you're like bigger than either Nynaeve or I in a number of ways. Taller, bigger. She's more proportioned than either of our women. So Elaine's like starts to work on one of the dresses, releasing hems. She can't do anything about the bust right now. She's like, you're just gonna have to squeeze, but gonna work on that. And she barely gets a hem half ripped out, and she can't keep her eyes open. So sleep. That's what happens.
Sleep again.
When they wake up, both Elaine and Nynaeve find Birgitte going, hey, I feel great. I'm ready to get out of here. I am starving. Need some food. So they both get busy preparing Birgitte to exit the wagon. So they grab different parts of their clothing. Nynaeve's providing anything that'll work. Elaine is getting a dress ready. Nynaeve's like, I can sew things for you. And Elaine almost spits.
It's like, Nynaeve, you hate it and you poke yourself.
She's horrible at it.
You do the dress.
She like would be bleeding trying to hem a dress because she poked
that's
herself
how you
so
dye
many
it.
Times. What did you say?
That's how you dye a dress. You just poke
That's
yourself
how
a
you
lot.
dye it, right? Well, back in Tell Around Riyadh, Birgitte had already said how much she liked that red dress, so the color would be right. Yeah,
exactly.
Nynaeve does do some coloring, not red. She dyes Birgitte's golden hair black. We gotta try to disguise you a little bit so it doesn't shout Birgitte to everybody who sees you.
Yeah, it's honestly lucky that she's known for that golden hair instead of being known for her raven hair, because it's so much easier to dye light to dark.
Correct. I've never done it myself, but I do understand that.
What do you mean? You naturally are already doing it.
And that's not hard to dye if you just go this way. When they're ready, they do exit the wagon, and the camp is clearing up. Everybody's pulling up stakes and getting ready to go because it's time to get this menagerie across the river to Gildan. Set up their show outside of Samara. Other menageries are over there, already attracting people. We got to get in on this. Valen Luca, the head of the menagerie, he's urging people, hurry up, time's a-wasting. He comes to Nynaeve and Elaine, and there's this new woman. It's like, oh, visiting with someone from across the river. And no, she's joining us. Really? Okay, well, what's she gonna do? Because everybody works here, you know that. I suppose we could paint her face, have her be one of the fools. What's the fools in a menagerie, Zach?
Like, when you say fool, we talking jester acrobat type fool, or are we talking like shoveling poop kind of fool, or
we're talking about your favorite part of any circus?
Oh, you're just talking about clowns.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Brigitte's not going to be a clown.
No,
She
there's no way she's clowning.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a clown, except you have to be a clown. And Birgitte feels about clowns the same way I do, which is that I don't like them. Not a huge fan. It's
She
not a
says,
fear
no,
thing.
no,
It's
no.
just a distaste.
I have skills. I am an archer. And Luca's like, right. What? She sees he sees this big long braid, even though it's black. You think you're some sort of Birgitte? Yeah, which is nice. Nice
Yes,
comment there.
yes.
Birgitte says, I am indeed an archer, the best archer you've seen. In fact, I will wager you 100 gold crowns I can outshoot any man among you. Now, Elaine and Nynaeve are like, you sure about that? You just woke up from a coma?
Yeah, it's a lot of money to put on the line, but yeah, she's that sure.
Tom and Julian are off the sides going, hey, take this bet. Hey, you want to bet? You want to bet? They're wagering all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. Make a good low coin.
And what goes on is some amazing jaw-dropping shooting by Birgitte that wins Tom and Julian a whole bunch of money,
yeah,
as well as Luca is out his 100 gold coins. And he doesn't mind because he's like, forget the dagger show. We're shooting arrows at Nynaeve. And Nynaeve is about to pass out.
Because look, it's impressive when you can throw a dagger and not hit someone from 20 feet away. But when you can go 150 feet away and not shoot a person with a bow and arrow, that's more impressive.
Yeah, Birgitte's shooting is freaking amazing. Now, that is the end of the chapter. We go on to chapter 37 called Performances in Samara.
I wonder what it's about.
Could be something to do with performances in Samara.
Really?
This shifts to a Nynaeve point of view, and it starts with Nynaeve alone in her wagon, alone with her thoughts. And from those thoughts, we learn that we're across the river now. The menagerie did a whole parade through Samara, attracting attention, announcing their arrival, and now they're outside of town setting up. Actually, they have set up, and they're open for business. Nynaeve, fully ready for the show now, has dyed her hair red. Bright red. And she's quite disturbed at the color of her hair. This is not sitting well with her.
I mean, it's just a little bit of flashback to Leandrin BS that is just a little triggering.
She and Birgitte now have matching red dresses with that low neckline. And Birgitte absolutely loves it. Again, when she saw Nynaeve in it back in Teleron Riad, she was like, ooh, that's hot.
Looks nice.
Now she's happy to wear it because they are a matching set. They are an act together.
Honestly, from the way it is described, I am a little bit impressed that it doesn't restrict movement so much that it makes shooting harder. But
she's
I'm all
that
for
good.
it.
It doesn't matter. She's that good. But yeah, Birgitte just loves this outfit. And as the chapter begins, Birgitte enters the wagon and basically has it out with Nynaeve. One of the hooks she uses is the dress that they're both wearing right now, because Birgitte is flaunting it. She's like, hey, if you got it, show it. Live large. Have fun. It's fantastic. And Nynaeve is all covered up in a shawl and stuff. And when Birgitte is saying things like that, she's like, okay, I guess I have to uncover. She's basically doing whatever Birgitte wants her to do. Because she figures she owes her. Why does she feel this way? What's the issue,
because
Zach?
she feels like it is her fault that Birgitte is here, which, like, to an extent, it is, but it's also very much not, because Mogideon did it, and Birgitte made choices that led to this, and so it's not all on Nynaeve, but Nynaeve is internalizing all of it, putting it all on herself, and nobody really likes being pitied or catered to this extent. Nynaeve is simping a little too hard, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, Birgitte is pushing her now, leaning into it. You don't like your dress? What if I told you you need to wear it even lower cut? If that's what I want, aren't you going to do it? And really pressuring her. And she's kind of like, well, I mean, if I have to. And she's like, stop it. She is sick and tired of Nynaeve being like this. It devalues Brigitte's choices. That's what she wants her to understand. Okay. Nynaeve sees her actions at Tel'aran'rhiod Riyadh as cowardice. If she'd been braver, she could have changed it. She could have stopped things. And Brigitte's like,
just wrong.
Yeah, you are confusing cowardice with
fear. Being brave does not mean you are effective. Just because you are afraid does not mean you are a coward.
No.
Being a coward is not owning up to the fact that you were afraid and there wasn't really anything you could do, and you have to just live with that.
Birgitte puts it to her there. I don't blame you for anything. Moghedien's the one to blame, okay? When she showed up, she attacked. We were both at her mercy. We both did the best we could under the circumstances. Let it go.
I mean, to be fair, you don't have to let everything go. You can still be mad at Moghedien.
Oh, we can hate on Moggy. Absolutely.
But this sad, beaten dog BS, get out. Go away.
Yeah. She'll circle back to that in just a moment. I mentioned that the show now involves Birgitte shooting arrows at Nynaeve. The Tom knife thing is gone.
Mm-hmm.
In Nynaeve's guilt-ridden state, she actually makes the idiotic comment that, when you have to shoot arrows at me later, if you end up hitting me, I won't blame you. I'll understand. I probably deserve it. And Birgitte's like, I hit what I aim at, and that will not be you. Sheesh.
Now, if you don't start talking a little bit better, it might be you.
She does not say that, but she does say, I liked the you I met in Tel'aran'rhiod Riyadh. You were strong, you were courageous, you also were thorny and a pain, but I liked you. This Nynaeve, this is crap. I don't like this at all. Towards the end of the count. Oh, go ahead.
It's tough love. It's true.
Tough love. It's what she needs to hear. As the conversation wraps up, Birgitte manages to sufficiently insult Nynaeve and gets a little flame of anger back in response. With Nynaeve, tamps right down. Oh, I can't be angry at Birgitte. Birgitte noticed. She valued she got a rise out of her. I think we'll be seeing more of that until she can knock some sense into Nynaeve. What do you think? Maybe?
I think Birgitte just may be what Nynaeve needs to work around her block for now.
Ooh. As Birgitte leaves, we see in Nynaeve's thoughts that she was ready and willing to let Birgitte do anything to her, even kill her. Because, she's that guilty of what she's done, what she's caused to happen to Birgitte. But humiliate her? And it's clear Nynaeve feels being humiliated by Birgitte is worse than being killed.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting insight into Nynaeve's personality. Nynaeve leaves the wagon then. Birgitte's gone. She's left her there. And as Nynaeve walks about, we do see the menagerie. It's on full display now. People and children from Samara are walking about from attraction to attraction, enjoying the shows. And it's quite the show. The book goes ahead and, shares a lot of the things we see, and we don't need to spend time talking about all of that. Just a few particular key points.
All right, let's
we see Tom, and he's juggling, but not just juggling balls or scarves. He's juggling fire.
Yep.
He's eating some of it, too.
Nice.
Of course. Tom's always got another trick up his sleeve,
just watch. He'll take a swig and breathe some next.
Yep. We see at kind of the center ring, Nynaeve comes up and stands next to Luca to watch what's going on. And Julian stumbles into the ring, and he looks clearly quite inebriated.
He looks wasted.
Absolutely. And he's stumbling along and wanders up and he's gonna climb up the high wire. And Luca is like, sir, maybe that's not a good idea. Oh, I'm fine. And yeah, he does this whole comedy act, climbing up the high wire and risking death. And no, he's fine because he does some tumbling and stuff. It's the show.
It's some solid physical comedy, and
the crowd eats it up.
We love it. We'll love seeing depictions of it in a show because it's entertaining. It's not something that we typically see in our modern entertainment, but it's also, if done well, good.
Yes, but it's really just the warm up act, because as he gets done, Elaine comes out, the prime performer, ready to go on up and do the high wire in her scandalously form-fitting sequin white breeches.
Honestly, if it's so sequined, it doesn't matter that it's form-fitting. You're not going to see it. It's just all glare.
It's all glittery and shiny, but Nynaeve is scandalized that this is taking place. What Nynaeve is shocked more about is that Elaine goes up and does this whole act, and the way it's described, this act is amazing. Flips and somersaults and all sorts of stuff on the wires.
High wire act.
But there's no channeling going on.
She doesn't cheat. She's been practicing so much that she can actually do it at this point.
Nynaeve's like, you could frickin' fall off and break your neck. What are you doing? But she performed amazingly. And everyone is proud of her. They're impressed. Nynaeve's ready to give her the rough side of her tongue, because why are you taking risks like that? We have more important things to focus on. But she never gets to that conversation, because standing near where Nynaeve and Luca were, she saw a man who kind of looked familiar. Perhaps the term I could use is bloody familiar.
That would be a term.
Yes. And as the performance is done, the man just talking to himself, bald, one-eyed, got a patch over another eye, stocky man, looks like he might be good with a sword. Mm-hmm. He makes some crass comments, and she's like, I know that guy. The language that comes out of his mouth reminds her of who this is, and as the chapter ends, he's leaving, she takes off after him. Which takes us to chapter 38, an old acquaintance.
I wonder who it's about.
Direct here. We're going to find out who this is. Speaking of acquaintances, we've got Carrie with us in the Discord. Hello, Carrie. Good to have you with us. We are going to see who this old acquaintance is. Now, Nynaeve is trying to catch up to this man. Mm-hmm. He's like beelining out of the menagerie. And she's like, I can't get through the crowds fast enough to catch him, until near the entrance, he does slow down and stop at one particular exhibit. What is it that attracts his attention, Zach?
The elephants.
Of course, they're not called that in this world.
No, but they are.
The menagerie is advertising them as boar horses.
The Shan-Chan know them as shredded.
Right. Why would they attract Uno? That's the name of the guy. Uno's attention.
Well, because last time we saw Uno was in Falma with the Shan-Chan. He probably saw them.
Probably. You know, I can't talk about Uno without thinking about We Don't Talk About Uno.
That's Bruno.
Great song that was Bruno. In the Watt parody this year.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was a beautiful parody of We Don't Talk About Bruno. We Don't Talk About Uno. The Dusty Wheel does this.
We need to talk more about Uno.
We do need to talk about Uno, but that was such a catchy song. It was very well done. So check it out. Nynaeve works her way up to where this man is standing. She's pretty darn sure who this is. And she says, Uno? And he turns to her, looking quizzically at her, like trying to place her.
And he says, I still have 2 cards. You have to draw 3.
Ah, ha, 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 ha. She tries to jog his memory, says, you know, I saw you in Faldara, and then again, briefly in Falme with Rand. And Uno, he confirms his identity, and he mentions he never forgets a flamin' pretty face.
Aw,
her hair was different last time. Yeah, he said that. Of course, he says, about her hair. It was bloody well different.
Yeah.
Uno is well respected for his colorful metaphors.
Yeah.
Then suddenly Uno, and I'm sorry, I know we talked about this books ago, but I love how on the nose this name is. The dude
Because he's
has
got
one
one
eye, so
eye.
we call him Uno. Really,
It's
RJ?
well, he got that.
Really?
It's a nickname that he got before he lost the eye.
But it's Spanish, which doesn't exist in this world at the moment. It's just a name. It's just funny. Suddenly, Uno grabs her arm, begins dragging her toward the exit of the menagerie. Now, some of the workers nearby, especially those guarding the money box, they see this happening and they start to move, grab their cudgels. They're going to help her. And she's like, no, 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 it's fine. It's fine. I got this. So they back off. As they get outside the show, she shakes the grip off and it's like, please explain what is going on here. Where are you dragging me? Uno just urges her to follow. So fine, she follows. And he walks really fast, kind of weaving in and out of the people until he finds a place, a little secluded cart path. And that's where he stops. There's no people around, no one can hear. And then he turns on her and he gives her crap for her loose lips. What's the problem here, Zach? Why is he reading her rights for just talking about whatever out there?
Yeah, we don't talk about the Randall Thor. We don't talk about the Dragon Reborn. Not when you've got half the city that are decrying him as their messiah and would happily do anything for anyone who happened to have touched him, but also might trample you in their haste to love on you. But the other half are white cloaks that probably would try to arrest you or worse. Let's just not go out and say, hey, that one time that we were hanging out with the Dragon Reborn? Yeah.
Ixnay on the Reborn A, okay?
Yeah.
Now, Uno has continued to intersperse his colorful metaphors practically every other word. And at this point, Nynaeve's like, whoa, okay, enough of that. Could you watch your... I almost said your bloody tongue. Please. And she also chastises him for walking so quickly. It's like, slow down already. And as she's giving orders in this manner, Uno he starts chuckling. Oh, yeah, I remember you now.
Mm-hmm.
This Nynaeve I remember.
And finally, we get to see the Nynaeve we remember too, because a couple chapters she's been not.
No. As they walk then on further towards town, Uno is clear that this is no place for her to be, particularly with her connection to Rand and the Blue Woman. He thinks he can scrounge up enough coin to get her off to Tyr. That's where he last heard Rand was located. And Nynaeve is amazed. She's not seen this guy for almost a year. Barely spoke with him back then, and already he's focused on trying to rescue her. She's like, men! Ha!
I mean, on the one hand, you have every right to be upset, Nynaeve. On the other, Uno's very aware that this town is not where you want to be. This is, in the nicest way possible, to the city I'm about to mention. You walked into the wrong part of Detroit,
Ooh.
and you weren't ready for it.
Michiganders, come at him. Don't come at me, okay?
Notably, I'm sure plenty of Detroit is great. It just also stereotypically has a wrong part.
Nynaeve assures Uno, I will be quite fine, thank you very much. I do not need your assistance. Unless you might know of a boat that might be coming down river that I could get passage on. Because we would like to leave as soon as we can. Now, Uno notes the the term that there's more than just Nynaeve here. So he does ask, would that be the Blue Woman or the Brown? Who's he referring to, Zach? And how would he know these people?
Moraine, who he met in Faldara, and then later saw in Falma and was hanging out with. Or Varen, who he chased after the horn with and then hung out down in Faldara and went through a portal stone with.
Hung out in Faldara?
No, sorry, Falma. Too many F names. chased from Faldara, Portal Stone, Falma, whole thing.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Nynaeve shares. No, 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 no. Neither of them are here. But do you remember Elaine? And he does. And she says, well, you just saw her up on that high wire act. And he goes practically apoplectic. Daughter of a queen? Prancing around up there like that? And Nynaeve's like, right?
And to be honest, he's also going, I just said some choice words about her legs. Is
But then
Nynaeve gonna hit me?
He goes just a little too far for Nynaeve because he's like, you Southlanders, you have no decency. And Nynaeve's like, wait a second. I remember you guys up in Shannara. Like the men and the women, they bathe together. Decency? Hello?
Yeah, but that's different. It's Borderlanders. If you fight together, you can bathe together. It's fine.
Anyway, Nynaeve turns this conversation back to what in the world Uno is doing here in Samara. And we get some backstory filled in, which is kind of nice. Because in the Dragon Reborn, right at the beginning, Moraine had sent Uno, the rest of the Shannarans, to Jahanna, the capital of Gildan, with a name of a person to look up and wait there until she sent instructions. Now, the woman they went to find turned out to be dead and buried.
Oops.
Fail. And none of her relatives had ever heard of Moraine, so they don't know what to do at this point. Well, Massima, he starts talking to people about the things he's seen and what he believes about this Rand al'Thor, and well, one thing led to another, and
yeah,
now they just hang out somewhere in proximity to Massima.
Yeah, and basically, they got abandoned, neglected. Massima got popular and became a problem. Sorry, did I say problem? I meant prophet.
Yeah. And that's the reveal here. We've heard about the prophet before. Nynaeve discovers Massima is the prophet that's been causing riots and rallying the Dragonsworn, and oh my goodness.
Which, I mean, kind of makes sense. He was always a zealot.
And in a way, it doesn't make sense. Because when Massima first met Rand, what was the reaction back in Faldara, you remember?
He didn't like Rand initially.
Not one bit. Why not?
Because he was breaking all the customs and things and the...
Something else.
No. What am I missing? There's something that is on my brain, but is not coming out my mouth.
Massima and the Shannarans were used to occasional conflicts with the Aiel.
It's the Aiel racism thing. Is that what's coming back again?
And so he'd look at Rand, and all he saw was Aiel, and think of the soldier friends who had died in battles with Aiel. And so, of course, he disliked Rand. He looks to Aiel.
Yeah, but we did see him post Book 2 into Book 3 being Rand's most loyal hound.
Yeah, totally. He was all in now.
So he's
practically
always
worshiping the ground Rand's walking on.
What he was all in towards.
Yeah. So Massima now is this prophet, and he's doing okay now. You know, basically he's set. We're going to hear a little more about that now, but the other Shannarans are staying close to Massima because basically he supports them. He slips them some coin, you know, so they're living on Massima's generosity. Two of them are actually all in with Massima. They're buying everything he's saying about, you know, his prophecies, his worshipfulness of the Dragon Reborn. Uno says, you know, Massima can probably find you a boat. Because here in Gildan, what the prophet wants, the prophet gets. Okay, that's important to remember.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing where, like, this land that was wrecked by war, this is where, at the start of the series, Logain had been, and that war, that conflict was resolved, but the social unrest made it ripe for the Messima to just kind of step into that power vacuum.
Totally. Nynaeve ponders here. Could it be a good thing that Messima is the prophet? After all, he does preach the dragon reborn. I mean, that's not wrong. And if he can really get them a boat, this might be good. Uno points out the one thing she needs to be careful of. Make no mention of that bloody island. What's he talking about?
Tar Valon.
Yeah, he is no kinder to Aes Sedai than the White Cloaks are. And if he recalls Nynaeve's connection to Moraine, that could be problematic. But if she doesn't mention anything to, kind of remind him, he'll probably pass right over it, because what's going to be more important to Messima is she is a friend of Rand al'Thor.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up in the same village. For that, Messima would probably build her a bloody boat.
However, for that, he also might stall on it and try to more or less keep her hostage. So, like, it's careful.
It's touchy. As they continue to walk along, they do see some White Cloaks and local guardsmen keeping an eye on them. And Nynaeve inquires, have the White Cloaks been causing trouble? Uno's like, yeah, when do they do not cause trouble? I mean, come on. Case in point, recently, there was a woman with one of the traveling menageries out here who was doing some sleight of hand tricks, like, ooh, magic. Yeah, a mob tore the show apart, the whole thing, so they could get that woman claiming she was an Aes Sedai and a dark friend. And they killed her. Now, Messima had the ringleaders of that mob beheaded, but it was the White Cloaks who had planted those seeds in the first place. That's the kind of things they're stirring up.
But let's also just not gloss over the fact that the solution to a mob that went after a woman and killed her for being a witch was to behead them. So, like,
this leads us into Uno's sketchiest comment. There's been too many, this is a quote, there's been too many flamin' hangings and beheadings, if you bloody well ask me. Bloody Messima's as bad as the bloody White Cloaks when it comes to finding a dark friend under every flamin' rock.
Yeah. So it turns out everyone's just killing everyone who doesn't necessarily agree with them and finding an excuse to do it.
So Uno loses heart at this point and starts to turn Nynaeve around. We really shouldn't be going into the city. Let's go back to the menagerie. It's way too dangerous for a woman like you to be there. Okay, that pushes all the wrong buttons with Nynaeve.
Or all the right buttons for our story, because she says, come on, let's go. You're following with me or you're going to fall behind.
That's right.
And not knowing at all where she's going, she starts forward.
That's the Nynaeve we know and love. That is the end of this chapter. That is the end of our content for this episode. So, first-time readers, this is where we bid you a fond farewell, because we're going to move into our full spoiler room section. Thank you for being here with us. If you have followed all of this stuff, you already know the Wheel of Time. Stick around, because we're going to randomly decide who gets to do this first and spill the full beans on something. Carrie, you've been with us in the Discord, so you're going to want to duck out, but we hope we see you for our later episode, because we do really need people to join us and participate in the one that starts at 50 minutes from now. Check out my notes earlier on what that's about. It's going to be fun. All right. Let me run our spoiler room graphics. Spoiler zone. Which do I call it? It's been a while.
The spoiler room.
Okay. I tried to end it. I failed. It's the spoiler room.
Partway, it is the spoiler room. I was like, it's going to tell us, so you're going to be fine.
All right, I'm rolling the monster die you gave me.
Okay.
Ooh, baby, I'm going first.
Yeah, you are.
I got an 18.
I got a 4.
Wow. Okay. Well, I just got to talk me some Messima here. Messima is one of those characters that I both love and despise. Here he is now. He's been preaching the Dragon Reborn. This starts out as worship He's been touched by something beyond him that he cannot explain. And I think he honestly starts out with righteous purposes. And yet it becomes addictive when you suggest something and mobs of people jump to it. And I think this story channels a little bit of Puritanism, where you take it too far. Everything has to be just right. And anyone who's out of line has to be dealt with. And along the way, we're going to see Masima just killing anybody and anything that doesn't quite agree with him. And it becomes far more about the power and the position than it ever is about the Dragon Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but think if Rand had chosen, he could have done something about this without much difficulty. But eventually we're going to see him, do something about it. Send Perrin. Well, that does not work real well. But it's all starting right here. And thankfully, we get Masima Light in this chapter, or in the coming chapters. Go a little farther out, things do not end as well for Nynaeve and Elaine here. That's my spoiler. Masima sucks. Okay, you got it. Boom. What you got, Zach?
So I want to talk about something in full spoiler context. However, I have to give the disclaimer that there won't actually be a real spoiler in this because it's something that I don't think was ever confirmed. I haven't read the Origins of the Wheel of Time. I don't know if it's in there, but I know that it's not known up until that, at least.
Okay.
Where did Geidel Kane end up getting spun out?
We don't know.
And I don't think we know. There's some theories. One of the most popular fun ones was that for a long time it's going to be Ulver, and then both Robert Jordan and Sanderson said no. So that was a no. Another one I'm seeing, I was looking up a little bit during the episode, was that it's Jur Grady's kid, but that doesn't work out either.
It's a theory, but no.
Timeline, and to that, I say that's
timey-wimey.
Exactly, because I understand the reasoning of like, we have to make sure the timelines work out. If the kid was already born before it gets spun out, I'm like, bullshit. We've said and established that time is a little different in Teleron Riyadh than it is in reality, which also gets a little bit funky when Perrin later can just like walk between the two seamlessly. So we conveniently forget the fact that time doesn't work the same, but there is no established rule that says if they get spun out from Tel Aviv Riyadh, it can't be further back. I'm sitting here going, do we have established proof that like certain other heroes that we know of or encounter aren't Geidel Kane, and it just like spins out weirdly? I'm not gonna sit here and say that any particular character is, especially when a number of them we know are not. But I think people's opinions and theories can still be valid regardless of timeline. It does not have to be a baby that has only been around for about a year by the end of the series.
True. Completely with you. That's one of those things, though, we will never know exactly what RJ maybe had in mind if he actually had something in mind. We won't know.
Unless at some point he did know and someone who
some
has
notes
the
are
authority
revealed
to say
finally or something. Yeah. All right. Good episode. A little shorter. That's nice from time to time. We don't have to make them listen for an hour and a half every time. We've got some doozies coming up as we move further into this book, but I blocked it out recently. We'll be done by September. It's May. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to run our outro just to remind you of all the various ways you can connect with us, our social media options, our Patreon page, like Carrie, who jumped in with us for a while during the episode. All levels of our Patreon can interact with us during live episodes. So we welcome you. We'd love to see you for that. We'd love joining on Discord. Come join in some conversations with us there. We even have an email that's going to come up. You can email us things. We answer. It's true. Anything else you want them to know, Zach?
Not particularly. You kind of covered it all.
Sweet. All right, people. We'll talk to you next time.